Welcome to Staring to the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
Hey, we're back.
Vitlame Mist.
Hey, I'm back.
And special guest, Sarah Cooper, the editor of A Woman Built by a Man.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for this. This was a great book, or anthology, whatever. We'll just
Thank
start
you.
right.
I'm very proud of A Woman Built by Man.
You should be.
What each of us have tackled like different stories from this anthology, and we all really enjoy what we've read. So
good. Yay.
Especially
So this isn't going to be like an hour of you just roasting me for my bad taste?
No.
Oh, no.
I mean, you did pub. I'm joking.
1 star.
It's probably going to be me. Like, why did you pick stories that made me cry?
For fun.
You love torturing people for this?
I do. It sustains me.
I did have to laugh when you had said that. You were like, man, this one's really rough. And I was like, yeah, I just read a story about cock spiders.
Yeah, and I was like, shut up, Matt.
Like, I don't know what you're crying about, but these cock spiders were very entertaining.
It's a very up and down experience emotionally.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that while I probably had to deal with the emotional, sad side, Matt is here like, oh, did you hear about the story about the cock spiders?
You know, it's like when you were in school and the teacher was like, well, who wants to pick projects? And you jump up fast because you're like, I know I'm going to pick a good one. That was like this. When I saw the title, Maddie Longlegs, I was like, I got to pick it. I'm not letting anyone else get that chance.
I mean,
And he was like the first to jump at it, so we didn't even fight for it.
Leave it to Matt to pick up the cock spider story.
Of course.
I wasn't even expecting that. I just assumed, I was like, long legs, it's got to be a spider possibly. And that freaks me out, so I'm going to pick it. So basically, this is going to be like an hour of that Chris Farley sketch where like, yeah, that was really awesome. That story, that was a really cool story too.
I can deal with that.
So should we talk about stuff?
We should talk about stuff. Let's give a weekly recommendation or not even recommendation, sometimes criticism of media that we've consumed. I have been a bad media consumption person because
What a surprise.
I picked up Elden Ring earlier this week, and
That's all I've been doing.
Elden Ring has been my life for the last few days.
I feel like it's been.
So you got captured too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of like the Soulsborne games to begin with. Like
Dark Souls is my favorite.
Bloodborne was my favorite for the longest time, and I think this might have topped up Bloodborne for me. It's like the formula that they started with Demon Souls, and they did better with Dark Souls, and then even better with Bloodborne. It feels that they perfected it with this game. And like it has your typical what you'd expect from a Soulsborne game. You get to a boss and they wreck your shit, and then like you're just kind of like, wow, I suck. This sucks. But the main difference that this one does better is it's an open world. So once you come across a boss and that boss just like wipes the floor with you, you can fuck off and do whatever you want. And like explore the world, see new things, fight different bosses, do like different side quests, find new dungeons, and then go back to the boss that wiped your ass before, or not wiped your ass, that wiped the floor with you before.
I was like, oh, what kind of
That's
game
a very
is this?
different kind of ring that you're talking about there.
Just go around, just have a really dirty ass, and you're like, it's ready for you.
Disgusting.
You can go back and just defeat him much easier the next time around. So like the game really does have, I think, a better gameplay loop that might be more friendlier to people who aren't used to that type of game. But it's really fun.
Am I the only one that hasn't played it? Does everyone else here have?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm not really that much into these kind of games because I know that they will consume me and I don't want to be lost.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing Demon Souls since like it came out on PS3, and then Dark Souls, and then Dark Souls 2, and then Bloodborne, and then Dark Souls 3.
They got you.
They got me. They've had me for a while. And
Yeah, once you commit to From Software, there's no getting out.
So
And-
you basically just signed a contract with the devil.
pretty
Yeah.
much. You sound
Like, please stop hurting me, but I love it so much.
Oh, the sadistic pleasure.
So once you beat a boss in those games, it feels so rewarding. Like,
So you get like dopamine, adrenaline, everything.
There you go.
yeah, like I got stuck at the first boss in this game earlier this week, and I've spent the last few days just like finding new dungeons, finding new catacombs, gaining abilities, gaining better weapons. Then I came back to the boss this morning before the podcast, and I was like, let me see if I have a chance. I haven't even tried since the first time he killed me. And he put up a good fight, but I was able to like move past that boss battle. And
Which one was it?
Margit. Yeah. Yeah.
Margit.
The first, once I beat it, I was like, that felt so good. Now I'm stuck again, but I'll go back to the game when I have a chance to go back to it. I'm satisfied with at least beating that boss. And I'm good for it.
This game has definitely taken over Twitter, it seems like.
Especially our crowd Twitter.
If it's not Wordle, it's Elden Ring.
Yeah. It's so
Wordle.
funny.
Where did Wordle come from? One day, everybody was just wordling.
Yeah.
I don't know how it caught on. It just kind of like caught on.
Apparently, it had been around for years, and then someone was just like, "I love Wordle," and everyone was like, "Yeah, me too."
It's crazy. It's even like in my kids' school, like the teachers are playing it with the kids. It's wild. It's just,
yeah. I mean, I play with my kids at school.
I guess it's good. It's teaching. I don't even know what it's teaching you. Just guess words.
Find direct words.
Yeah.
It's a word game to like get the kids into class and stuff.
There you go.
And it's kind of critical thinking. Like, okay, you have this many spaces. You know, you have these letters. So what can we think of?
Yeah.
I like it.
I've avoided Wordle, so that's at least my understanding of what it is.
Yeah, I have two.
It's literally just guess a 5-letter word.
It's one of those things.
I'm too cool for Wordle. I'm so cool.
Go.
I don't Wordle.
I don't do this.
I have a couple books to talk about. I'll get to when we get around. But Matt, what about you?
All right. So I think the big thing I want to talk about is I did see Scream 2022 because it's just called Scream. You can't even call it Scream 5. I liked it. I did not see Scream 3 or 4, but I don't think you need to because it's sort of they make fun of it, but it's basically like how all the horror movies now, which are just requels of what came out before it. So they're kind of going right back to the first movie and pulling that kind of world back into this one. And this is where everyone's going to hate me because I feel like this is one of those movies that everyone's loving, but I thought it was okay. I feel like the main actress, she was really wooden. I don't know if that was a choice. I mean, it had to be. She was in the Heights. Here's my dorkiness coming out. I watched In the Heights, which was a musical that's on Disney Plus and was on Broadway and all that fun stuff. And it was a good, you know, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, so of course it's got all this great music in it. So anyway, I've seen her and she was really good in that. And then I see the Scream movie and she's playing this B movie actress that and not in the movie, she's not a B movie actress, but she feels like she's a B movie actress or even like a C level actress where it's just all deliveries really bland and there's no inflection or anything. And that could be a choice. I know Scream movies are all about people acting a certain way and doing certain things because it's a choice to do those things, but still that's like one of those choices that I feel like you could have just moved past and actually give this character something else. Jenny Ortega's in this and she's the sister of this main actress, and Jenny Ortega just like acted circles around her. And there's even a part where she meets up with Nev Campbell or Sidney Prescott, and they're like, hey, we should join forces and defeat this bad guy together. And our main character, who I can't remember her name, she's like, no, I don't want to. And my joke was like, yeah, because Nev Campbell's also going to act circles around you. So you did, like, the people directing this were like, we can't put the two together. But it's very good. Besides that, it was very good. Fun movie. It is gory. Lots of knife kills. There's some good, a ton of great callbacks. It very much is copying the first movie, but kind of on purpose.
Did you see the twist, or did you know who the killer was immediately?
Yeah, I mean, and they sort of call it out, giving you the rules because it's a Scream movie, so you gotta have rules. But in this case, it's the Stab movie rules, and they give you the obvious choice there. The reasoning behind it, I thought, was really cool and is a very neat kind of poking fun at fan culture. So I like that a lot, because just we've seen that for everything. Everyone, all fans are insane. Maybe not insane, but lots of fans are insane for their stuff. And if you change it, they'll be very mad at you. And so they make fun of that and give you that reasoning why. So I thought that was really cool. And it was fun to see all the Courtney Cox, Nev Campbell, and David Arquette. They were all amazing in this.
Was it weird looking at Courtney Cox the entire time, though? Because I feel like, I love her in Friends, but what the fuck did you do to her face?
Well, we were talking about that actually, because I guess she has, since doing that, taken some of that. She's like undid it. I don't know how you technically undo it, but there's been interviews where she said she said she wasn't know what she was doing at the time, or why she did it at the time. I mean, there's interviews out there. I can't say it for sure because I don't know it, but she looks better than she did maybe 10 years ago.
That's a relief, because it's kind of like, there's a thing you kind of have to avoid looking at. You just you if you see it too close, you're like, oh no, it's gonna melt my face.
That could be like a whole discussion on the crappiness of Hollywood and female actresses or female actors,
the pressures of female actresses. Mm-hmm.
And I feel that sucks. It sucks when you see people that go through that, and it almost feels like they took a step too far. But no, she looks great, and she's a lot of fun in it. I mean, and Nev Campbell is she's amazing in this, super strong, super cool, and it was good. It was a fun movie. Some bad main actress choices, and it's so funny because it's got what's his name from The Boys in it, and it's the Quaid son, whatever. Jack, is it Jack Quaid? I think it's Jack Quaid.
Dennis Quaid?
Well, his son, Dennis Quaid's son.
Oh yeah, Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid, that's it. I knew it started with a J. He's in The Boys, and he's in this, and while he doesn't play the exact same character he plays in The Boys, he is still sort of that kind of character. So
oh no, he's gonna be stuck in that role.
I know.
For a while.
So like there's a couple times where you just it's all horror movies where you knock the bad guy down and there's weapons laying around, and instead of taking the weapons and making sure the bad guy stays down, he kind of like wimps out and goes away, and you're just kind of like, dude. So but it was fun. I don't know, hopefully this is the last one. I mean, they do kind of give you that. I mean, it's just like all the other Scream movies. You can always make more because there's always something you can tie it to. So who knows? But it was entertaining.
Vitlame, what about you?
Well, I didn't have a lot of watching or reading to do last week because I was I was traveling in Amsterdam. But I once I got back to work, I immediately fired up my Audible and started listening to audiobooks. And I finished reading Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh.
Yeah, I was really in like a mermaid kind of feeling, and she definitely delivered with those mermaids. Those mermaids, the description of those mermaids, they're terrifying. I was like, and at one point I was like, I kind of wish they existed. I was like, I really want to see them, but not so close that they can, glump their fucking teeth in my face. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But then at the same time, I did not like the kind of preachy attitude that Mira put into the story. I don't know if you caught it, but it was like basically just talking. I felt, to me, it might not have felt to others, but to me it felt like she was really talking down to the readers.
Oh geez.
Basically just telling, it's your fault, the ocean is like this, and climate change, and we're doomed, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I know all this. The reason I'm reading your fucking book is to escape it, not to be lectured by it. Because I know, and I'm really guilty about it. And shut up. So I did not like that part because it kind of kept going on. And another part that I kind of felt that it felt like it was supposed to be like this kind of urgency, when the mermaids attacked. But at the same time, it didn't. It felt really laid back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it might have been because the ship that they're on is supposed to be like this, like the size of a football field or something like that, like a really huge ass ship, and has a lot of decks and everything. So not everyone even knows that the mermaids are attacking, and I'm like, I had to pause for a little while. I'm like, wait, how would you not know?
Yeah.
It's like, how would you not hear the screeching?
I was just thinking that, like, oh, those people are screaming over there. It must be fine.
Yeah. So, like, it kind of lacked a little bit in the urgency part. Like, it didn't feel like they spent a lot of time doing all this, like, scientific research thing, which I actually found really interesting. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, fun, cool bit about that. But could we maybe keep running?
So they're on like, are they on like what are they on? Like a giant boat?
Yeah, it's like a
huge ass research boat.
Yeah, it's like that like an entertainment company financed and made.
And so the mermaids can be out of water?
Yeah, they can climb up and be out of water. But then there's a twist, of course, that they notice that they can't stay above water for a long time. So they have, like, when they were doing like I don't want to say a dissection. It was called something else, necrosection or something like that. It's a different kind of word that you use that is not a human.
Okay.
A necropsy, I think it's called.
Sure.
And when they were doing the necropsy on a dead mermaid, they discovered like he had, it was a male actually, had like two lungs. One that was used for go up above water, and other that was used to deliver air to go and into the more deeper side of the Mariana Trench, I think.
Okay.
So, like I said, like the biology part and everything, how she managed to create these mermaids was really ingenious. And I'm like, if this would be made into film, I think it would be really interesting to see how they would put them into film.
Yeah.
Because they looked like a cross between human, anglerfish, and she described the face to be like that of like a simian.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So it was really interesting, and like they had like a whole colony or something of like creatures in their hair.
Oh,
so they had and if you touched any of the things, that you basically would die from some kind of poison that they had. And it was like, okay, shit, this mermaid, you just no touchy.
No touch.
Yeah, the mermaids are fucking brutal in that book.
Yeah, they're really brutal. And what I also loved about them was that how they mimic people like completely correctly.
Oh, that's fun.
That's super creepy. But I still felt like they didn't do that as much justice as Mira did with the short story that she did. That was kind of like a prequel to Into the Drowning Deep. It's called Rolling in the Deep. but yeah, like in the prequel story, I think she managed to capture the creepiness of the mimicry there a lot well, because that was like in my case, that was the first time that I like encountered these mermaids. So like seeing them again into the drowning deep and using that ability, I was like, you could have done it a little bit creepier. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. I enjoyed it. So it was a good 13-hour listen.
Nice.
And then I finished listening to The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix.
How did it end?
Oh. I mean, it was okay, but and Grady really enjoyed like throwing you for a loop. Like you didn't really expect who the main villain was. Because you were always into Lynette's head, so you weren't really sure which it was, so you couldn't really rely on her thinking. But I really enjoyed the thing, like at the end, like in the climax, like you described in Scream, like Neve Campbell being this unbeatable main final girl, not being able to die. It was the same in the Final Girl Support Group. Like there's this one point where like a car is just it's rammed into one of the girls, and she stands up, so she's fine, and runs into the forest. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you're a final girl. That makes sense. Yep. For other people, nope, not a chance in hell. And the main character Lynette, I think she was shot in the head, and I'm like, you should have died, bitch. And she was like, no, bunk bunk, titanium plate in my skull, bitch.
Oh my god.
You're like, oh, okay, all right, cool, final girl, makes sense.
I always laugh about that. Like, how many people have like metal plates in their heads?
Right? It makes me think, and it kind of also makes me like, how does it work?
Yeah.
And how do you not get like blinding headaches from all the fucking time? And how can you even travel?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I finished that, and like I said, it was okay. I liked it. And then I'm now halfway through Laurel Hightower's Crossroads.
Oh.
You really like reading like very sad stories, don't you?
I don't enjoy it.
Are you sure about that?
I'm like I said, I'm halfway through, and I'm like, I had to pause, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna cry at work. I don't know what the people are gonna think of me if that happens, because it's just getting worse and worse. The story is getting more disturbing, and I'm like, no, please don't do this, please, please, please don't.
Oh my god.
So I'm probably just gonna like finish listening to it tomorrow, and then I'm gonna do my crying, and I'm gonna be fine for the other taping by then.
Oh man.
And my husband's probably gonna come out like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "This fucking story, man."
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
It was a good one.
And
oh, you go, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna say I did not cry in that one, but I did enjoy it thoroughly.
I'm sure it made you a little bit empty inside, though.
Yeah, yeah, there was definitely some rough spots, but I think it was funny because when we did discuss it, that's when we figured out how much of a robot I am, because I was like, well, but no, I did enjoy it a lot. That was it's a really great story.
It made me cry.
See, then I'm probably going to be bawling my eyes out.
And Sarah, what about you?
Unfortunately, I haven't been reading too much lately. I know. I've been writing.
How dare you?
I know. The last thing I read was actually a true crime book by Tara A. Devlin, and it was called Kijo, Japan's Most Notorious Female Criminals, I think is what it is. Yeah. And it just details a bunch of women in Japan who committed horrible crimes, throughout the centuries. And it's very well researched and very well written, and Tara is a very good writer. I've read quite a few of her works, and this one was no exception. She provides a sympathetic view to some of the women, and some are just irredeemable.
Nice.
If you're into true crime and into Japanese history, recent or, more ancient, then I would definitely recommend Kijo.
This sounds awesome. When did this come out?
I've read her
This year, earlier this year.
Oh wow.
Does it have the one with the little girl that murdered her classmate?
Yes, it does.
That's a horrible one.
Yeah, that's
I think Nevada-chan is in here.
Yeah, Nevada-chan.
Yep.
Yeah, Nevada-chan. Yep, she's in here. It covers, gangster women. It covers housewives who've just had enough. There's a failed geisha. It's all sorts of different types of women and what led them to some pretty awful crimes.
I'm interested to read that because, you usually, you don't hear a lot about, the female criminals, especially in Japan, because there's this underlying, I wouldn't say rule, but there's this underlying concept that, the Japanese women should be demure and submissive and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in this, you definitely see that is not the case. So, Kijo by Tara A. Devlin, highly recommended if you're interested in true crime, murders, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the book that kind of. I'm reading another one right now. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it because I'm going to be doing a blurb for it. So that's currently up. And in terms of films, I'm sure you guys have already talked about the most recent Texas Chainsaw.
Oh yeah.
Did we? I don't remember if we talked about that.
I still haven't seen it.
So
I watched it 2 weeks ago actually. So
yeah, I watched it fairly recently.
What did you think?
Not nothing particularly good.
Yeah, that's basically my feeling toward it as well.
It was just
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
It's a direct sequel to the original.
But at the same time, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. They brought back the final girl. Well, someone else playing her, obviously. But they brought her back, and that was a mess.
Yep.
I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's messy. The motivations of the main characters are bizarre. Mm-hmm. They're these millennials moving into a tiny... They're very modern, woke millennials in Texas who decide it's a good idea to move to a tiny Texas town.
Oh, totally.
Where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre occurred.
And gentrify it, right?
They want to gentrify it while acting like they're enlightened.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's a scene on a bus where, Leatherface comes on board. And everyone on board this party bus basically just holds up their phone and is like, "You're going to get canceled if you do anything."
Mm.
And I think at that point, my brain just kind of flatlined a little bit. And any attempt I was trying to have fun with it and just be like, okay, it's a slasher film. Let's see what they do. But it lacked, I don't want to say slasher films have charm, but there is a certain, thick charm to the classics. And this was it was like Leatherface. It just took the skin and put it on.
Oh my God.
And massacred. Massacred it. It was just bad. I don't think there's anything redeeming about it for me.
No, I actually was really pissed off that all the deaths just happened in that one bus. I'm like, wait, but why?
Yeah.
Why not spread it around?
It's like
it did in the first movie.
Yeah, it was like they lacked the formula really to understand why that sort of group of teens getting murdered works. Yeah. And they were just like, well, if we have a bunch of young people, more than just a group that you grow to kind of care about and get to know a little bit, and you just have a bunch of people who you know nothing about, who you don't care about, and put them on a bus and let Leatherface go crazy. People are gonna love it. And it's like, no.
Did he go on the bus with the mask and the chainsaw?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they just let him on? I don't understand.
Yeah, and this is a town that is aware of the past. This is the same. I can't think of the town name where it starts with an H.
Yeah, something.
Anyone want to help me out? Something.
Hallow or something?
Something like that. But it's the same
Happy
town.
Town.
Yeah, Happy Town. We'll go with that. Same Happy Town. They're aware of the history with Leatherface and the massacre. Nobody knows where he's gone, but they know it happened. So this giant guy with a chainsaw and a mask comes on the bus, and their first response is just to be like, I'm gonna cancel you.
Mhm.
I'm like, in your reality, this really happened. This isn't like something you're like, oh, it's a movie. It's real
Yeah.
history for you. And your first response is to be like, I'm gonna stream this.
Yeah, that
And-
makes
and-
total sense.
And the thing is, like, what also just kind of just like I knocked my I think cracked my head was they had the main character that survived, the final girl survive, and she's like this old woman, but like Leatherface is still this same age, and I'm like,
That bothered me so much.
I was like, how the fuck?
It's like 50 years in the future, and Leatherface is just like, didn't age a day. Don't ask me about my routine. I'm not talking.
Yeah, it's like I just limp now, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's
What
like,
was he doing the whole
hip's starting to
time?
act up a little bit, but I'm still gonna swing this chainsaw around.
Yep.
Was he just like hanging out? What was he doing those 50 years?
I don't know, and I just
Living with an old woman.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes sense.
that she took
Was
as
he-
a boy, and I'm like, wait, so she lived in the fucking house where he slaughtered all the children?
It was an orphanage.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Of course.
He gets taken into an orphanage where he lived with a bunch of little boys. And it's like, but
Then
he
he
was a
would've
grown man.
He would have eaten them. I mean,
Oh my
that's
God.
was this whole fucking point in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie.
Yeah,
They killed people, they skinned them alive, and then they ate them.
right. And it was just like, none of it made sense. Like,
Oh
it
my
starts
God.
with these millennials going into this tiny Texas town, and they see a guy who's clearly supposed to be some kind of redneck archetype get out, and he has a big old gun
Yeah.
on his hip. And
Yeah.
what do these millennial kids do? They start mocking the man with the gun on his hip
Yep.
Oh my God.
in the middle of a tiny Texas town.
That makes
That kind of like that, and that was the beginning of the movie, guys. So you saw how the tone was set, and you're like, shit.
Oh.
Yeah. And what really bugged me though was the younger sister. I don't even know their names.
No, I don't.
I'm
even
sure
either.
the characters might have had names. I don't remember what they were. But she was the survivor of a school shooting.
Yep.
Oh, of course.
And I'm going, is that really the kind of material you want to be dealing with in
A slasher.
your slasher film? Like a very real world phenomenon that occurs far too often and is extremely tragic. And you're like, yes, this is going to be her backstory because she needs to overcome
Yep.
the school shooting.
Yep.
Yep.
It was it was like not did you guys not get the memo that slashers usually don't use a lot of social commentary?
It was
It's like they tried to forego that because it's supposed to be a classic, guys.
Oh my
they wanted
God.
to teach you something. They wanted it to have a message.
Yeah.
So bad. And then it was completely ruled out in the third act because she couldn't use the fucking gun. And I was
No.
like, oh, that's a good message there.
Yeah, she overcame her fear of guns because it's established early on she's scared of guns, but not scared enough that she's not going to mock and badmouth the guy with the gun in the very beginning, not knowing his mental state, or if he's
Right.
just going to go like
Mhm.
full QAnon bonkers.
Yeah. In
And
Texas. In a small town.
in Texas. And I was just like, okay, we're doing this.
Oh my
Mhm.
God.
All right.
I would love the movie of what he was doing for 50 years. Just like bouncing around, just doing his normal thing, and then just
Literally
one day-
chilling in an orphanage.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just drinking lemonade, buy a little I
Eating
don't know,
regular food.
Yeah, not eating
regular-
people, not committing. He put the chainsaw in a wall.
Oh, that makes sense. That's where I would put it.
Like, yeah, and they plastered up the wall. So the chainsaw was there, but he didn't use it. So for 50 years, he was just chilling at an orphanage as like the lost boy, I guess. He was a full-grown man when
I
he
know.
arrived.
Was
And
he
it's so-
talk? Did he talk?
No.
No.
He grunted.
Yeah.
The kids are like, oh, we love good old, I don't know, we'll give him a funny name, Lefty. Oh, Lefty. He's so fun. And you just see him like giving kids piggyback rides and stuff.
But it's like it also makes you think like what you would take in this full grown man with a chainsaw and you wouldn't
Yeah.
get rid of the fucking chainsaw? You just like, he goes like, no, I want to give it. And the woman's like, okay, honey, we'll just put it in the wall for you.
Yeah,
for
she's like,
safekeeping."
I know a bunch of people were just murdered nearby, but you really love that chainsaw, and I'm making
Yeah.
no connections here. Let's just put it in the wall for you.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been reading a lot of Poe, and all of his stories are about putting stuff in walls. This will be perfect.
No, she's like, I can fix him.
Mhm.
He's just a big dumb boy.
Yep. Like a fucked up version of Beauty and the Beast or something.
See, that would be a movie. Just have that.
Beating the Beast, except he's a slasher and she's a fix-it girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. If we see this, it's us. All four of us, we need credit for that. If
Yeah,
this
we would
comes-
claim credit.
you heard it here first. 'Cause that's a great idea. Like, he's all crazy, but they're like mending him. And then, at the end, I don't know, he breaks down the wall and he kills Gaston or something like that.
No, I think he just ends up killing her because he finally gets tired.
Yeah.
He can't
Like,
overcome his nature and he's just
yeah.
like, I'm bored now.
Why you keep staring at that wall?
Yes.
Talk.
Looking longingly at the wall.
Just scenes of
And he's
him
like,
yet.
"No, come on, dear. I'm gonna read some more Poe for you."
Just his hand on the wall. He's like, one day.
One day.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Would just be awesome. It would be such a fun story.
I would love that.
I would love
Oh.
that too, honestly.
Oh my god.
Oh my God. I'm going to need to write that now.
We'll add it to your list of anthologies you're creating.
Yep.
Because that
Okay, my
seems
next anthology after the other one that I might possibly have in the works.
Yes, it's like
It's going to be
every
Fix
other
It
day.
Girls.
Like, yeah,
From
fix
final
it.
to Fix It. There we
Fix
go.
It
We didn't have a
Girls.
title.
Oh my god, that is perfect.
It's a really good title.
Fix it.
Yep,
Fix
it's
It
the Fix
Girls.
It. Yep, the Fix
Oh.
It Girls.
God,
From final
that-
to Fix It.
that sounds like an HGTV show.
I mean, it would be better than their the one that they flip murder houses.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah, there was.
Yeah, there's. I don't know if it's still on. Do you know?
It's not on, so it was on a thing called Quibi, which was like the
Oh,
worst
the Quibi show.
idea for a streaming
my
app
God.
ever. And like one of the lead shows they came up with was a house flipping show where they fixed up murder houses. And
No.
the show was advertised as a mix between a true crime documentary and a house flipping show.
Oh, that's that's definitely not an idea from like Saturday Night Live or any sketch show.
Well, it kind of. I was watching another show the other night, and that made me like mentioning the Murder Flip It show made me think of it. Where we're taking like very serious tragic crimes and turning them into something quirky and
Oh, God.
fun.
Mhm.
And it was The Thing About Pam with Renee Zellweger.
I saw you mention that on Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched the first episode the other night, and it's about a real murder that occurred in our fairly recent history. I think it was like 2013, something around there. So, everyone involved still alive, still well. And they play it like it's some quirky, whimsical, funny thing that happened.
What the
And
fuck?
God.
yeah, there's a narrator who does this. I don't know if you guys have seen Jane the Virgin
Yeah.
or anything that has kind of a that quirky narrator who voices over it, makes it silly and light
Yeah.
Mhm.
while they're discussing real events that happened.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm
No.
sitting there going, what the hell is this? Like, obviously, I like true crime. I just read a true crime book, but I like it to be done respectfully. I like it to treat the matter or the subject matter with, the dignity that the victim especially deserves and the family of the victim deserves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this put Renee Zellweger in her fat suit,
Oh no.
No.
a bad fat suit.
Oh, we're still
Yeah.
doing stuff like that.
Yep, it's 2022. We're still doing bad fat suits.
This makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess it was supposed to make it funnier because the actual
course.
murderer
Because
in real life
fat
was
people
not
are
fat.
funny. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, the real life murderer was not fat, so that was a choice that they made for some reason. On top of, the more egregious choices like the silly, I'm gonna make a funny narration over this poor man grieving when he comes home and finds his wife dead.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
So if
hang
you
out
want to
with
be really
Lefty.
disappointed and wonder why the show was made, check out at least one episode of The Thing About Pam on Hulu.
I'm so
Peacock.
glad this podcast can't capture my cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had to Google it because my husband and I read the description and we were like, okay, we'll give it a try. And then we start watching it. And I'm sitting there going, okay, if this isn't based on an actual crime, I can see why it would work. But I thought it said it was based on an actual murder. So I Googled it. I'm like, holy fuck, it is. And they're treating it like this? Oh, no. And I can't watch anymore. Maybe it gets better. Maybe they did a 180 at some point and realized, oh, these are real people that we're telling the story of. Maybe we should treat them with a little more respect. But I have my doubts.
No, they just double down. They play yakety sax over the murder scene. You got what's his name doing the narration from Arrested Development, just being like, "Well, this is why you always leave a note."
It's gonna be a needle scratch. I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Oh my god!
What am I gonna do with all this blood? I don't know.
Yeah. See, like I said, if it were just a completely fictional story, I would probably enjoy a completely fictional, silly horror comedy type thing.
Yeah.
But taking real events and using those even just as a basis and making your own story, but using real names and stuff, I just find that completely distasteful. And I just was like, oh, who made this choice and why? I need to talk to them.
I can give you something that's an even worse taste than that show.
Uh-oh.
There's a director, and his name is Daniel Farrens.
Oh, are we about to go into
the Haunting of Sharon Tate?
Yep. Okay, continue. I know where we're going.
Has anyone heard of this one?
Nope.
I've heard of it. I did not see this.
I tried watching it and I couldn't even make it through 20 minutes. But it's pretty much he takes the murder of Sharon Tate and turns it into a paranormal story.
No.
Where Charles Manson's cult is putting a curse upon her and she's having all these premonitions, and it just downplays everything about her murder in the most offensive way possible.
Yeah, if you want to see a good YouTube video about it without having to watch the movie itself, this is how I found out about it. Amanda the Jedi.
Yeah,
I love her.
I love Amanda the Jedi, and she did a great video on this film. And I think he did another one.
I was just going to ask. That sounds familiar.
The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson.
That's it. Yeah.
And then last year, he also put out 2 movies, Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman, and Eileen Wuornos, American Boogie Woman.
Oh, yeah.
He's responsible for those 2. I think Amanda did one on the Ted Bundy one, a video on that one, too.
He's responsible for those 2.
Oh my, somebody stop him.
Seriously. What sucks is people are probably watching it.
They are, and they're going, oh wow, this really happened.
Yeah. They really did put a ghost haunt on her.
Oh, it's sick. It's sick. I really hate the whole taking true crime and trying to put it on a paranormal spin or trying to make it funny or silly. I don't like that. That's just, it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, I'm the same. Actually, I can't really listen to true crime podcasts anymore because it's a lot of them felt like it was just, I don't know, it made me feel weird that these people are profiting off of someone's death and taking things lightheartedly. And I was just it just rubbed me the wrong way after a while. I just had to stop.
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube true crime. Well, less now. But so much of it is murder and makeup.
Yeah.
And it's I get you might want to be doing something while you're discussing such a heavy topic, and I guess makeup isn't that awful, but so many of them just will be like talking off script, and they'll just be like, well, I don't actually know, whatever, and they just keep going and like completely gloss over, like they don't do their research.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're putting makeup on while they do this?
Yeah, it's a big YouTube trend to talk
Yeah.
about true crime and do makeup.
Yeah.
One I do like is Coffee House Crimes.
I love that one.
Yeah, he just tells the
Adrian is so respectful to the
Yeah.
victims.
Yeah, he's really great. He doesn't like even show himself for a lot of the video. It's pictures of the person, the people involved, or the location. He sticks to the
Videos.
facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him. I love his. Did you watch the one about that happened in Iceland?
I don't think so.
Birna
Which one was that?
Birna Brjánsdóttir.
I don't think I've watched that one.
No, it happened. It happened fairly recently. I think it happened in 2018, 19, I think. And I still haven't even watched it because it's so close to home.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, no, even though I know he will do it with so much respect, I'm like, no, this is gonna, carve out some old wounds.
Yeah.
Because it was really tragic. I think a lot. I think most of Reykjavik, like the capital, were helping on with the search.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they found out what happened, it was just a combined tragedy.
Yeah, so like channels like him I can watch because he does do such a respectful, thorough job, and he does his research. There's another woman whose name I can't think of at the moment, and she's also really good. Like she actually is a victim advocate. She's kind of become a victim advocate, and there was a murder victim. I think it was a young man was murdered, and she actually met with the family, and she was helping to get attention to the case, and she was talking to the people who were involved in getting the story about the victim, which was, I thought, a really refreshing thing to hear about the people who were affected and from the people who were affected, instead of just like, I'm going to put on my glitter eyeshadow while I.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember her name because I think you'd like her too, May.
Yeah. If you remember it, just send it to me.
Okay.
Honestly, there's lots of really good content like that on YouTube, and there's also some
if you look for it,
YouTube too. You gotta find the good stuff sometimes because there's a lot of just bad shit.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's why I like to watch the Disney animatronic fails. That's good content. I watch really in-depth stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to watch these robots freak out. It's a lot of fun.
I think this would be a good point to steer our conversation.
Yeah.
By a man, which is why Sarah's here to begin with.
Well, I thought I was just here to chat about YouTube channels and bad movies.
Yep.
That was a fun diversion.
It's amazing.
So we all tackled about 3 stories each from Woman Built by a Man. I went over Every Woman Knows This by Laurel Hightower.
Good choice.
What Doesn't Kill You by Elle Turpin.
Good choice.
And The Cooper Girl by you.
Awful choice.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I really enjoyed all of them. I think Laurel's definitely like sticks the most to me. I knew what was happening the entire time, but still getting to the end of her story was like, it was brutal, and it was really well done, and a great introduction to what this anthology has to offer.
The way Laurel writes is so captivating, and she had actually sent me another story prior to that one, and we workshopped it a bit, and it was a great story, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't quite capturing the theme of the book. And so I said, I'm not sure this is working. She goes, well, I have this other one that might work better. And I said, okay, send it over. And so she sent me that story, and I read it, and I was like, I need this. I don't care if anyone else wants it. I need this because it's so good. And I knew, like, the minute the first line, and this is something that's been repeated that I've seen in the reviews. It's like you read the first line of that story and you're hooked.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I read that first line, I'm like, this has to be the opener. There's no other story that is going to work as well as this one. Laurel is just so talented, and I
She
fell in
writes
love with
phenomenal openers.
Mm-hmm.
She does.
Like the opening lines in Crossroads, I was like, holy shit! If that doesn't bring you in, I don't know what.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get to Crossroads yet because I know it's a very sad story, and I've just been avoiding kind of sad media.
Oh, I admire your strength, Sarah.
And I've told her that. I've been like, Laurel, I'm sorry. I want to read it because I love her writing. She's one of my favorite authors, but I can't go to Crossroads. So I'm waiting for Below. I'm very excited for Below.
Below
yeah.
is fantastic.
Is it gonna wreck me?
It's not gonna emotionally wreck you as much as like Crossroads will.
Okay, I can deal with that.
I will say it's one of the few fiction books that has actually scared me. So there's that.
I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to read Below.
It's a phenomenal novella. But that's to be expected from Laurel. Like I like with this one, all like the fishing metaphors that she uses throughout it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I knew exactly.
Yeah, it works so well.
I knew exactly where it was going when like she started using the fishing metaphors. I was like, oh, this is not going to end well to the creepy dude that our protagonist has smiled towards.
Yeah,
no, it is a really great, really brutal opening short story that I think like definitely is a great way to begin this anthology.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, out of every story I read, I think it's one of the ones that packs the most powerful punch. And it's so simple. It's such a simple scenario. It's something that a lot of women experience, which I think is what makes it so visceral. And feeling that way, like you're a helpless little remora without your shark to protect you, which is a line that she uses, is like, I think a lot of people, not just women, but a lot of people in general have felt that way.
Yeah.
Like you're the prey and you've got this predator chasing you. What are you going to do?
And not everyone has the fishmonger, but this woman does.
Lucky her.
That goes in a wonderful direction for the story and for our character.
Mm-hmm.
And next, with What Doesn't Kill You by Elle Turpin, I really liked how it was very different from the first story that I read. This one gets into an actual like woman being built by a man. Like this man's creating an android, pretty much robot, but has the memories of human when she was alive. And it gets into a very important conversation about, I think the best way to put it was, it gets to a very important conversation that deals with abuse. It deals with men's control and a woman striving for her own independence apart from man. And I found it to be a very emotionally strong story.
Yes, and it's also, I think, about complacency in other men.
Yes.
Which I thought was a very important message as well. Elle's very talented. It's a great story, and like you said, it's a very important message about the control and the way men feel like they can assemble women kind of to be what they want. And if the woman doesn't do what they want, then they have a right to physically change her.
And I thought it was a very powerful story. And also, Elle's a friend of mine, and I haven't really read Elle's stuff before. This is the first story I read from her.
Yeah, she hasn't written too much. She's so busy as an editor, but I think that's going to change. I think we're going to start seeing more from her, which is going to be a great thing.
I want to see a lot more from her because that was a great story, and I have The Dead Inside right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
She has a story in that.
Yep, she's in The Dead Inside. She's in Weretales.
Yep, I have
Shape-shifting anthology.
So yeah, I need to get to those anthologies. Dead Inside, I'm holding Dead Inside right now, so it's like, oh, it's right here. But no, like she's really fantastic. I would definitely recommend our listeners to buy this anthology, and the three stories that I read, even with the last one. I won't talk too much about our guest story, Sarah, but I can say I thought it was a really great story to end the anthology with.
Thank you.
And it was, again, like the stories that I read, I don't think were as heavy as the ones Vitlame chose. I think she chose the most traumatic ones.
I did.
Which stories did you choose, Vitlame?
Okay, so I took, well, how was it called?
I'm gonna guess it's Lil and George's.
Yes, I took She Asked For It by Lil and George.
Uh-huh.
I took Better by Alexis Dupont.
Mm-hmm.
And The Truth Tiger by Gemma Amor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are three of the those are three of definitely the
heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Good, nice. You just aimed for those.
Yeah. So it was funny.
Hopefully you read the trigger warnings before, especially Lillian's story. Oh, that's rough.
But you know the title says it all though. So I was like, yeah, I know what it's about. And then the more I read it, I was like, oh my god, why?
Yeah, you think you know what it's about, and then but the way that Lillian just grabs you and like she does not let go.
No, she grabs you by the throat and she like delivers like a 3-punch to the gut.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and she's like, you're gonna feel this.
Yeah, then one to the throat because she's not gonna allow you to cry until the end. So basically, yeah, Lillian's story is about this girl. So trigger warnings, guys. This is a really hard story. It starts in a rape.
Ugh.
And it's through the perspective of the woman who is raped. And because the reason why I felt it was so hard hitting, because the way the woman, her thought process the entire time, it's something that I definitely, because thankfully, but I still feel so sorry for the people who have actually experienced this. This is probably something that would go through their minds. It was just really a mundane thing that she was just saying, and but at the same time, Lillian snaps into these kind of sections where all these, this victim blaming is put on. It's like oh, she was wearing that, she shouldn't have been wearing that skirt, or she shouldn't have talked to this man, or why was she smiling at him, or something like that. I was like,
it's very real, and that's what makes it so hard.
Yeah, it was so.
There's no romanticizing it.
No.
There's no flinching away from the subject matter. She describes what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oof.
And it gives you she's so brutal in this way. She gives you a glimmer of hope at the end and then snatches it away. And I'm like,
oh no.
I'm like, at the end, I was like, oh my, I felt so bad. I was like, I had to hold down my crying because it was really bad.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that was a really hard story.
And I'm glad you put I'm glad you put it in the middle.
Yeah, I knew we needed to cushion that one. Elle and I both agree that one needed to be kind of cushioned because it's a very difficult read. Even if you've I've thankfully never experienced anything to that degree, anything even close to that.
Yeah.
So I knew people who have had that sort of experience would go into it and it would be very triggering. So that's why when we released the book, I tried to state repeatedly, read the trigger warnings. Her story was always at the forefront of my mind when I was making those, like when I was directing people to the trigger warnings, because hers is probably the most visceral, the most difficult to read.
Yeah, it was just, like I wrote, I wrote in my Twitter post that said it was too vivid and all too real.
Yeah. Yeah, she really captured, and like you're not with this character very long.
No.
But you feel
it's
for her.
It's a really short story, but this story will stay with you for a real long time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because she also brings in the ones, the real life ones. Like she mentioned Sarah Everard, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I know what's gonna happen.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the victim blaming is very real.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that this woman was going to a bookstore in the middle of the day and it was a very hot day. So she's wearing, a skirt and I think it's a tube top.
Yeah.
And this guy stops on the side of the road. They have a relatively pleasant, short conversation. And she continues on her way. And, a minute later, he's back. And this time he gets her in an alley. And it's just brutal. It's a hard read. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was very important to include in the anthology.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
That is such a big way that women are shaped.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, once you put in the victim blaming and everything, I was like, well, yep, this is what this is what people, who have been dealt through this, who experience this is what they actually internalize. This is what they try to reason with themselves. They put the blame on themselves, and it's just horrifying.
Yeah, if you think about it, how many times have we been given tips about how to protect ourselves when walking?
Yeah.
Make
She
sure you have one.
She didn't have her like keys in her hand, and I was like,
one earbud out, head up.
She had taken self-defense classes, and
yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm a little bit annoyed that you guys didn't take this story.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gave everyone free reign to choose stories.
You did, yes.
I think it would be that.
I know. I chose Lillian's stories because I really like Lillian. She's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, she's so blunt and brutal, and I love her for it.
And it carries through into her writing.
It really does. I'm like, oh well, that I really managed to experience that.
Yeah.
I also chose Alexis Dupont stories because I beta read that story.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. It was before she was she was looking to shop it around, and and I read this one and I gave her a few tips, and I don't know if they translated into this to work or not. That doesn't matter because she is a phenomenal writer as well.
It was actually the first submitted story that I read for the anthology, and I knew from the minute I ended it, I'm like, I need this.
Because this story fits the theme so fucking well.
And I knew it was going to be different because a lot of the stories, pretty much every story that we got was about men shaping women, and they either become, their own heroines where they save themselves, or they become, unfortunately, victims of something violent. In this, it's
basically what she turned into herself.
Yeah, it's not a violent story. It's not. It's not gonna be one of those that like digs under your skin in a really overt way. It's a more subtle way, and I think it was really important to showcase this kind of control and the way that some women are built, where we feel like we constantly need to be working on ourselves for the man in our life.
Yes.
Oh, he doesn't like my lipstick. I got to change it. Oh, my hair. I got to change it.
Yeah.
And all the little ways that we let ourselves be boxed in.
Yes. This I like when I beta read it, I just really loved the tone, and this the theme that she was kind of like trying to convey into it, and you can still see the horror aspect of it. Like you said, she does it in a really subtle way, but at the same time, it also hits you hard because this is something that we do like all the time, basically.
And we don't realize it.
Yeah, we don't realize it. So this is a really like an eye opener kind of story.
Yeah, to sit back and go, wait a minute, have I ever done that? Am I that kind of person?
Yes, because it's it's about this woman who is, she's trying to wed this boyfriend of hers. Like they've been together for a long time, and she's been basically kind of grooming herself into becoming this best bridal material for him. And she puts on everything that he likes. And what I really thought was really sad was that she mentions also the things that made her herself that she discarded.
Yeah.
For the boyfriend. It's like these combat boots that I used to love to wear. Oh, they went to the Red Cross the minute I met him, something like that. I'm like, damn, that hurts. And as soon as he sees like the things that he likes, it kind of cements into her, and it just glues to her, and it won't stop until at the end she kind of becomes this kind of fragile porcelain thing, to the point that she can't really hold on to these, and she loses herself, and she becomes this just fragile thing or like a husk of a being that cracks under the slightest pressure.
Yeah, and I thought it was such a good metaphor for what some women do to shape ourselves.
Yeah.
Based on what the men in our lives like, and we think we have to please them. We're not worried about, and some women are raised to think that that's the way you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need a personality of my own. I don't need interests of my own.
Yeah.
I have my husband to give that to me.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of when I read it, it also reminded me of how some because I read a lot of manga, a lot of shoujo romances are built this way. Like when you see what the main character's most aspiration is to become a bride, and I'm like, what? It's like nothing else. You don't want to explore the world. You don't want to get a degree. What the fuck?
And that's honestly such a big issue I have with a lot of YA geared towards young girls.
Yep.
Not just manga, but every genre, where we teach young girls that romance is the pivotal, the thing that you need to be focused on.
Yep.
Who are you going after? How are you going after? What is he like?
I hate it.
I hate it so much.
It's basically the reason why I've kind of steered away from YA for a long time now. Because it's always about that. Like there's like this huge like governmental thing that is happening in the world, some huge change is happening, and she's the main point, and she's like, I don't care about that. I need to know whether I love this guy or that guy. And you're like, that doesn't matter.
Want more.
Like, you can do that when you're fucking older.
Yeah. Oh no, so I have 2 daughters, and luckily when you see these shows are exactly what you're describing, and you're like, no, this is like they don't need to just be focused on who's the boyfriend or who's liking who at the high school or whatever. And it's just like, no. So we try to be like, okay, if you want to watch it because it's very flashy and kiddie like, you're like, okay, but let's watch. I don't know if anyone's watched Amphibia, but it's this great cartoon, and it's 3 female characters, and they're in a land of frogs, and so and it's all about friendship and strength and all this stuff, or there's a lot of other ones too, but that one stuck in my head because I really like that show.
She-Ra.
Oh yeah, no, we've actually we went through She-Ra a couple of times.
Hilda.
I was gonna say Hilda.
Oh, that one's a great one too. So
the owl house.
Yes, that one's
Star versus the forces of evil.
Yes,
that's a great one.
Gravity Falls.
Of course, Gravity Falls.
Yep. Although Mabel is boy crazy.
She does it in such a lovable way.
I know
that you can forgive her.
Yeah.
The new one.
Which one?
The new Masters of the Universe.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
They're a little not ready for that one, but I like that one. But Avatar, they love
Korra.
And Korra, they love that. We've watched them so many times. So it's like that's what but to kind of go with that concept of there are things out there like that, but there's a lot of mainstream stuff, and that's like the hard part. So we go to Comic-Cons or Halloween, and my daughter wants to dress up as She-Ra or Starfire from Teen Titans or Korra or whatever, and we always kind of have to warn her because it's not like everybody knows this, but all these really popular shows that everyone knows is exactly what you're describing. This who loves who, why that person stole my boyfriend, and all this stuff, and you're just kind of like, no, why can't these other things be more popular?
Yeah, and this isn't to shame young girls who enjoy romance. Don't get me wrong,
100%.
I was a young girl once, and romance is great. I still love a good cheesy love story.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, but I think there should be more. I think that we should be showing the girls, young girls, that there is more than just the boy that you have a crush on. And getting married and being a bride and a mother and a wife and all that. So don't take away the romance necessarily, but
don't make it a
an
focal point.
Option.
Yeah, don't make it a focal point.
Yeah.
And the last story that I took was The Truth Tiger, but by Gemma Moore, and I love Gemma Moore. I love her writing. Dear Laura still like lives rent free in my head.
Yes. Such a brutal fucking book.
Yep, it is. And this one has this kind of same brutality, in my opinion, but in like another different kind of sense. Because the title is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not something you would be like, wait, what has a tiger to do with
women?
Women built by men. And as I read it, but it still made total sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this guy who just recently lost his wife, and she was battling cancer for a long time. And this guy, he doesn't accept it. He's been living in denial ever since they got the diagnosis. And you can definitely feel the sadness permeating from it, and you kind of it kind of resonates with you, and you're like, okay, I feel really bad. That I mean, that's horrible. I would probably feel the same way, but then it goes into disturbing territory, and you're like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, Gemma is like, she's so good at writing grief.
Yes.
And just understanding how to get that emotion out of you.
Yes, and then
So
flipping
good.
it on its tail. You're like,
yeah.
Wah! So basically, the truth tiger is basically the denial. Like it's this kind of his embodiment of denial, and it's always like trying to get him, to grab his nails and bite into it, just to make him accept the fact that his wife is dying, and he needs to get his life in order for that. But he doesn't. He runs away from it. And it gets weird. So I'm gonna spoil the story because I kind of need to do it. He goes into the nearby cemetery, finds a fresh corpse, and takes the corpse and dresses it in his wife's clothes, and kind of lives in the delusion that the corpse is his wife.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
And she's not so fresh anymore by the time we meet her in the story.
Oh my god, the
description.
The visual descriptions. I was like, I'm glad I hadn't eaten when I was reading it.
We'll just say he gives her a kiss on the forehead and doesn't come away.
Oh no.
That was so disgusting, and the wriggling maggots in her lap, and I was like, no.
It was so bad.
It was
but
so
I
bad.
think it was such a good story in that it's not just about grief, it's about his need for control.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's about his need for control.
Yeah.
And to say, I still have my wife.
Yes.
Oh,
and she's not dying, she's right here. And not being able to accept that, his wife is passed away and he's died.
It's like he is basically, I has to have it on my fucking terms.
Exactly.
And that's so, and I found like this is so typical, basically.
But it was told in such a unique way.
Yes.
Like just he's literally chased by the truth tiger. It's this rotted beast. It's a literal tiger that's just like mangled and rotting, and it chases him through the hospital after his wife dies and down the street, and he thinks he's locked it out of his house, and it's just stalking him this whole time while he's refusing to come to terms with the fact that he's lost his wife because he has her at home. She's just a little,
dead. Rotting.
A little rotting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, her skin just comes off a little when you kiss her. It's fine.
It's okay.
And the smell, you get used to the smell.
Yeah, you hardly notice anymore. But yeah, it was a very sad, gross in so many ways story. It's like layers of how gross it is. And if you read it on its face, you're just like, oh, he's escaping his grief. But obviously you read it as I read it, kind of as a tale of control.
Yeah, I did, definitely. And that's that's also, the really disturbing part. I was like, oh, you went Norman Bates. Awesome. It's like, yeah, every person goes through that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, get on with the Maddie Longlegs.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I read, I'll say all three of them and then we'll jump into them. Maddie Longlegs by Olivia White. And then I read The Only Thing Different Will Be the Body by J.A.W. McCarthy. And finally, The Canary by Joanne Askey, which I guess out of the three, that was the hardest one for me to read. So maybe
you got to suffer.
we'll do that one maybe first.
So fucking happy.
This one's short. Out of the three I read, I think this was the shortest one. I don't know if it's the shortest one in the book, but it's
Laurel's was.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But this one packs a punch. You know, it's set on a planet. I drawn a blank on what planet. It's not Earth. And it's this daughter who I believe is older, probably in her teens, and her dad, possibly her dad, and they are mining, and she has the ability to tell if there are monsters coming in this cave. And the way she has this ability is our dear father likes to brand her with a very hot pick, and the scar, which is scars, I should say, will allow her to light up if there are monsters. And that was a very descriptive, talking about the other descriptions in this book or in this anthology. This descriptions of this burning are not nice. I also did not read the trigger warnings, and I would say out of the three, the three I read, this one probably I should have, just because it's just about, I mean, it's a very hot pick that gets put into her hands, her arms. So very, very painful. And just everything else about it too is he keeps her outside because that's where, I guess, where women sleep was outside, and she only gets to eat once a day. And she has to go into this cave where there are monsters, and she has this hope that the stuff lights up so she can tell, and then he'll go. And it's just, it was a rough one, just because this concept of a father treating a daughter this way. I mean, that's a tough one to read in any scenario when you kind of have a kid, even if the kid's a little bit older. And I could be wrong on the age, but I feel like she was older. She wasn't like a young kid.
I think she was like a teen, young adult.
Yeah, so
I don't think she ever specifies what age she is.
No, but it just seemed like she was a little bit older, which in the end doesn't matter. It's just the idea that it's a girl having to go through this, and that was a bit rough. And I think the ending of this story works perfectly, because she gets she gets her revenge on this guy. I liked even just the world building of this. I mean, it's a short story, but the world building of this space, and just like going to town and finding this metal, and having all this stuff is put in really short, but just enough to give you an idea, while at the same time you're getting this idea of like these monsters and who she's living with. So yes, that was The Canary, and that one was a really good one. Oh my gosh, it's a really long title, and I said it, and I'm drawing a complete blank.
The only thing different will be the body.
It'll be the body. I'm like, I know the title. It's just, I like this one a lot. This was fun, in a way, fun, about picking up. I think it was fun and gross, because there's this woman, and her great grandfather was an angel, and she uses this knowledge to pick up men, and then she does something to them. But the idea of she has her great grandfather's wings, or part of one of the wings, and it's just this like leathery piece of bone.
It's like wing jerky at this point.
Yes. And they take bites of it because they think they can get this angel's power. And I like this one because it's like a dual kind of thing. You're dealing with this picking up of like kind of this dating, or like this, you're meeting somebody at the bar, and they're thinking one thing of like, oh well, I got her attention, and we're gonna go back to her place and we're gonna have sex. But then you also got this idea of church and angels and all the men believing that they will become angels and become powerful, and there's this imagery of wings wrapping around her and like holding her in and kind of containing her and assuming that she will worship them because he's an angel and he's got this direct line up to heaven, of course. And so you have to make sure he gets everything he wants. And these are all her brothers, just for the story's sake. But then, so like the brothers are like, well, if I eat this wing, maybe that'll give me wing power, angel powers, and then I'll go up to heaven. And then as long as you do what I tell you to, maybe I'll bring you along with me. But the idea of like they take this wing jerky and they eat it, it just is like super gross. And like it's funny because she references the people eating mummies back in
Oh yeah.
1800s.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Victorian England.
I couldn't help but think of Futurama when they
Oh yeah.
when the
mummy
professors-
jerky.
Yeah, the mummy jerky. So like I kept thinking about that. But I like the twist in this. There's a really fun twist that not fully give away, but it's a fun idea of who she is and what these wings can actually do for some people. And it's just I just love the idea of making these angels into one thing, and I think that was really fun. It's just I'm glad I got all these sort of fun stories because these other ones sound really rough.
Yep.
But that was great. I'm glad. Yeah, that was a fun one. And then of course we got Maddie Longlegs. Now I don't know, was this like, is this the weirdest one out of the bunch?
Definitely.
I was just wondering, like, because so Maddie Longlegs, we are with these three. It's in a college like science lab, and they are studying spiders, and they have this new spider that they found that is sort of like an orb weaver, but its body is shaped like a cock. And the description is they use them to jump. It's like a way to flip their bodies around.
Yep.
So
What the effort fuck?
If you've not read Maddie Longlegs, I definitely think you should, just for the experience.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna finish the whole anthology, so yeah.
It's amazing. And so they call them cock dancers. I kept calling them cock spiders, but in the book they're called cock dancers.
Because they're not spiders. Olivia would be very
Yes.
upset with you for calling them spiders. They're arachnids.
Yes.
Get it right, Matt.
I am sorry. They are not spiders. It even says that in the book. They're
Yep.
not spiders. It's just so like, but the story is it's the three. So there's Carlos, there is Maddie, our Maddie Longlegs, and then there's our main character, who I am now drawing a blank on what her name was, if it was said, because she is telling the story. Lexa. That's her name, Lexa. So it's these three. Carlo is obsessed with Maddie, but he does not have the confidence to ask her out. And so he's just really awkward and just really awkward throughout all of this. And so they're watching these spiders, or non-spiders, these cock dancers, and the queen, the queen is it's a debutante, is in a cocoon of these cock dancers, and the old queen is kind of writhing around. So they know anytime now this cocoon is going to hatch, and these are brand new creatures. Nobody's seen them before, so everyone's really excited to see what's going to happen. And then we get this beautiful, disgusting scene of the birthing and then the dissemination of the old queen. And there are female cock dancers that are sort of helping clear off the cocoon, And then the male cock dancers are basically just murderizing our old queen. Is the best way to describe it. The cocks turn into sort of scorpion tail needle things, and there's a lot of stabbing involved. And then there's like this little like pink ball. This squishy pink ball.
Looks like a boob.
And then there's like another one that looks sort of human-ish. So like the scene, it's so funny because like I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, this is wacky, and you know, like I'm coming and going, doing other things as I'm kind of taking care of family time. And then I get to this scene and I'm like, holy crap, what is happening right now?
Oh my God.
Olivia is so good at just weird horror.
Oh my gosh, it was perfect. It's just,
Yeah.
And then it what's funny and what I love is, so you have all this stuff. You have Carlo and Carlo and Maddie and Lexa. They're all sort of like obsessed. They have to watch this. You have this just awkward interactions, and then as this ritual for the new queen finishes, our friend Carlo figures something out, and he's like, in his weird, crazy mind, he's like, I got the perfect idea. I'm gonna do what these guys did. And I was definitely not expecting the ending of an eyeball and these really long legs. Like, I don't want to spoil it because I think people need to read it, but like,
yeah, it's something you just have to experience.
It does not go the way you don't expect it. Like, so why did you pick this one?
Why did I pick Maddie Longlegs?
Yeah.
Well, Olivia was actually one of our invited authors. Originally, she was actually a co-editor
Nice.
of the anthology, but she had some health issues that prevented her from participating in the editing process. And when she got better, she was going to write her story, and she told me what it was about. And I was like, okay. But I think
You had slight hesitation.
Slight hesitation, but it's such a good story. Again, going back to women being built by man,
Yes.
Carlo he's the low-key creep. I'm gonna some spoilers coming in. He's a low-key creep, which is such a real genre of creep. That you don't expect it, you don't see him coming, but he feels so deserving. And he feels like, you know, I'm entitled to whatever I want, including another human being. And so he sees these cock dancers doing their thing. And it's so twisted to look at that, especially given how Olivia describes it. And for him to think, huh, yeah, I could do that. That seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucked up what he comes up with and why he does it. I don't want to spoil too much, but the reason why he does it is so selfish. And he
100%.
plays it off like it's some, you know, altruistic decision that's going to benefit all parties involved. Like, oh, now I get the best of both worlds.
Oh God, yeah. Like, not spoiling it, but like that. So you get the big reveal, and then you get this other reveal, and you're like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah. So I think it encapsulates that low-key creep and the selfishness and the way women are basically just the violence that's perpetrated against women in more than one ways, you know, whether it's physical, whether it's the emotional infidelity, whether it's him feeling deserving to her person. And so I think it was wrapped up in a really absurd kind of web. But but it was so well done, and I think it's one of the more subtle, like, you know, it's grotesque, don't get me wrong, but I think you kind of have to sit back for a minute and really think about, why is this about a woman? Why does this fit a woman built by man? How does this fit? But if you sit back and go, well, it's all about a guy manipulating a situation, about his entitlement, about what he can do with these women, regardless of whether they want it or not.
Yeah. And that's exactly, because like and I love this story. So hopefully with that question, if Olivia is listening, it's like, I love this story. So I didn't mean to face that question.
No, I think she's gonna laugh when she hears that.
Okay, good.
Because she knew. Olivia. I was very involved in the process of writing the story, and that she would keep me updated about what was going on in it. And so she was very well aware of how absurd the whole thing was.
I love it. She's like sending you a message. They're having the birthing scene right now.
No, it was like that. Like she'd be texting me, like, this is happening. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Where do you come up with this stuff?
So perfect.
But it was definitely the most absurd choice of stories, just because it's just, like I said, absurd. There's really no other word for what happens with the cock dancers.
Oh my gosh.
But I love it. I loved it. And like I said, it's one of the more subtle ones, like Better was. And you kind of have to sit back for a minute. And this one is a little less obvious than Better. So you do have to kind of sit for a minute and go, why does that fit? And then you go, oh.
But
now, thinking about it, looking past, spider arachnids that we're calling cock dancers, and the fact that they're like penises, and that the debutante comes out looking like a fleshless boob. Like when you peel away those layers of just like, what the fuck, then you go, oh, I get it now. It's like you have the literal male spiders building, or male arachnids. Sorry, Olivia. Male arachnids building their new queen versus what Carlos does.
Yes, which and especially now, like, because the way he is described through all of this is he's this very
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's this very like non-alpha, but at the same time he's really creepy, and kind of like, even besides how it turns out, like, you're still kind of, it gets to this point where you're like, dude, without knowing everything that we know, it's like, either shit or get off the pot. Stop being like this creeper. Because it's like, that's at first, like, because we're a little bit later into their all time together, and Lex at first is like, oh, this is really sweet, I'm gonna help him out because he likes Maddie, and she's been sort of flirting with him, I'm gonna help out. But then, like, after a while, she gets to the point where she's like, I'm done. Like, this is wrong. And like, and so even that, like, you kind of are,
the unrequited love from afar, where he just doesn't take the hint, like, okay, dude, enough.
Exactly. And even like Maddie knows, but and she's kind of done with it too, but it's just this fact that they all have to work together, like, alone. Like, there's the description of, there's like an hour break between, they switch shifts, and that, that's all playing into the arachnid story. But at the same time, the idea of like, well, they're just stuck together, and he's being weird this whole time.
Which is a very real situation that a lot of women men are thrust into when you're in a work environment with someone who's just like being a little bit too nice, a little bit too friendly. And you can't escape.
A little too awkward.
Yeah.
So, but yes, no, this was the first one I read, and I was like, awesome, this is great.
Yeah, I feel like that one doesn't quite set the tone for for what follows or what comes before. But it's a great story, and it just strikes you as so out of left field.
It's just like, holy crap. And
there's no other story in there that's quite like it.
And I'll just say, the body horror at the end is there. It's just, wow, yeah.
Yeah,
so it was weird to jump from that one to the Canary, where I was just like, oh no, but not nearly as bad as if it may have went red. So, but, oh man, this was great. Like, and I know, I don't know if you've been interviewed for this collection or not, or anthology or not. So like, I didn't want to totally ask all the generic questions, but like, I mean,
no, this is my first. I don't do many interviews because I'm an incredibly awkward, introverted person. So they always stress me out
Well, I'm glad we could. But like, because I was just wondering, I mean, like, what kind of spurred this on? I mean, well, what spurred this on for you? What made you decide this is what we wanted to do?
Well, it started as I like to say that my brand as a whole is like basically me accidentally on purpose taking a joke too far. So I came up with a story idea.
I'm waiting for that goat story, by the way.
Oh, it's coming. It's written.
Nice.
It's written.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And it's pretty dark. It's not a funny story. Anyway, but so I came up with the story idea for a story called A Woman Built by Man, where a woman is shaped by a male figure in her life. And I went to Olivia White, who wrote Maddie Longlegs, and I said, "Hey," she's one of my best friends, and I said, "Hey, I got this idea for a story. It's called A Woman Built by Man." And I was like, "Wouldn't that be kind of a funny anthology to do if we just got a bunch of women and femme writers to come together and share their experience about being shaped by a man?" And she was like, "Yeah, actually, do it." And so then I went to Elle Turpin, another of my best friends, and I said, "Elle, you're not going to believe what Olivia's trying to get me to do. It's so dumb." And I told her, and she goes, "No, that's not dumb. Do it." And I went, "Oh, okay." So
like, crap.
I was like, "I guess I'm doing it now." So I shot emails to cold emails, and I'm not sure you should do this, but I shot some cold emails to some publishers. And I was like, "Look, I have this idea." And at that point I had gone to, our selected authors, Laurel, Gemma, Haley Piper, etc., and said, "I have this idea. Would you be interested?" And they said, "Yes." And so then I did the cold emailing to publishers, and they were all very nice. Again, I don't know if that's the appropriate way to do things, but they were all very nice. And the ones who couldn't take it, were very polite, and they're like, "That sounds like a really good idea, though. We wish we could." And then Cemetery Gates was like, "Yeah, we'll take it." And then it was real. And then I was like, "Oh, I guess now we got to do this." So, it was an offhand joke comment that turned into A Woman Built by Man. And I'm so proud of the book that we put together. Elle and I did. We read through, we had about 200 submissions.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
And so many of them were so good. And it was kind of interesting being on the other side, because usually I'm the one doing the submitting as a writer.
Yeah.
It was, and whenever you get your rejection, you're like, "Oh, I'm garbage. I'm the worst. Nobody likes me."
Yep.
But being on the editorial side, you realize, no, it's not that this person is garbage or a bad writer or there's anything wrong with the story. It just doesn't quite fit. Even though I loved so many of the stories that we ended up having to reject because we only had so many slots, and they were so good. And it was so hard to send those rejections to the ones I was like, "Oh, you almost made it in, and I wish we had more space, but there was just this other story that worked a little bit better." And really, it just came down to the theme mostly, just what fit the theme best.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. You always have to look at it that way.
Yeah, it really helped open my eyes as a writer to be like, oh, it's not necessarily anything against me or my writing. It's they have a theme and they know what they're looking for.
Yeah. It always hurts at first, but then once you sit down and you process it, then you're like, "Yeah, I mean, sure, that makes sense." You're still hurt, but at the same time, you're like, you take it like a champ.
Yeah, you just gotta resubmit it somewhere else. It'll find its place.
There you go.
or do like me, just make it into your own collection.
Exactly. Make a great big
that's
book of rejects.
Right.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. I love that this came out as just a one-off idea. It's so fun.
Yeah, it was really, I had never even thought about doing an anthology.
Yeah.
I had never planned on it. And when Elle and Olivia were so enthusiastic about it, I was like, oh, maybe this is kind of a fun, good idea to go with. And I'm really glad that I had their support. Even when she was sick, Olivia was very involved. Her mom actually did the cover art.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, her mom is a mixed medium artist. And it's actually a physical piece that Olivia has in her home that her mom assembled from different pieces.
I thought so. It felt really organic.
Yeah, yeah, it feels very tangible, like it's almost 3D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
it's such a gorgeous piece. I love it so much. And yeah, so and that came out as a joke too, because we were sitting down early in the process and we're going, okay, cover art, who are we thinking? And I'd forgotten actually that Olivia's mother was an artist, and I'm a 12-year-old, so she was like, who do you think we should get? And I was like, your mom. And she went, and she went, no, wait, that's actually a good idea.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Love how your jokes. No one takes you seriously for your jokes.
That's why like my career is just, and it's just a joke I accidentally on purpose took too far. That's how I got a podcast. That's how I got an anthology. That's how I have, half my stories.
So amazing.
It's how we got the cover to the book. But yeah,
Well,
so
I love it that you're not doing out of spite, you're doing out of laughs.
Yeah.
It's more fun that way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so the cover came out that way, and I adore the cover. It's just, and she did I don't know if you guys saw all the marketing little blurbs that we used to introduce the authors, and then we did little story snippets, and each one had a different head that Olivia's mom made. So I think she made like half a dozen little heads to go with the cover head, and
That's
I've been using
amazing.
those in our marketing material.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she did it so quickly. Her mom is crazy talented and so fast, and it was just, she's really, really great to work with. As she took our idea and she turned it into literal gold. Like, I just look at that cover. I've had the book, since it came out in February, and I just look at that and I go, oh my God, it's so pretty.
Awesome. No, I love this. This was super cool. Obviously I love my stories, but I think this was a really great concept, and I'm hoping that everybody reads it.
Hope so. I hope they like it.
Yeah.
I think they will. We were very lucky to get the collection of authors assembled that we did. They're so talented, and it was a lot of fun working with people who are more well known.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about Laurel, we talked about Gemma, we talked about Haley. These are some of the biggest names in indie horror right now. But then we also have people who aren't so well known, and for some it was their first horror publication.
Oh, that's
like
great.
Jill Palmer, I think, said she wrote The Eyes of Vaslul. I think that's how you say it. That's how I'm going to say it. And she was so excited because it was her first horror publication, and it was just so fun to work with both the well-known folks and the people who are just starting out, and to be able to put their works together and see how well they flow, and that being known does not mean anything in regards to talent and in regards to the stories that you tell. Yeah. And I think A Woman Built by Man is a great showcase of people who have experience and who've built up their careers as writers and are rightfully well known in the community, versus people who are just starting out and just getting that experience.
Yeah.
And that's what Elle and I had always wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that. This is always so fun to discover new voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like just the sheer amount of people out there who can just write a story, a damn good story. And I really do wish that we could have like included all 200, because almost all of them were just so good, and I had so much fun reading them, and then so not fun rejecting the ones that didn't make it, and that was really hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. That's got to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing for writers to keep in mind: editors do not have fun rejecting stories. They're not sitting there gleefully tapping out their emails and like cackling as they hit send. It's really hard. It sucks so much, because being on the other side, knowing what it feels like to get that rejection, is just like, oh, it's tough.
Yeah.
But it's a really great anthology. You and Elle did a wonderful job putting this together.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'm very proud of it. I know Elle is very proud of it, and it was really great to work with her on that. I've worked with her as my personal editor, for my books for a couple of years now. So to be able to work with her on that level, where we're gathering stories together and comparing notes, and was really special.
Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, it's a really wonderful anthology. And listeners to this podcast, I highly suggest you go pick up a copy. It's on Kindle Unlimited. The ebook's like $5. It's just a really great book.
It is.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm a little biased though.
But Sarah, where can our listeners get in contact with you?
I'm most active on Twitter as Miss Pippinacious. I also have a website that's authorshcooper.com that I don't update nearly enough.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm really, really bad at that whole web maintenance thing.
Mhm.
I'd rather tweet pictures of my pets.
There you go. Yes.
But yeah, that's pretty much. I have like, Facebook and stuff, but if people want to get in touch for whatever reason, those two avenues are probably the best.
All right. And Vitlame, what about you?
They can find me on Twitter at VitlemayS, and they can also check out my a little bit of a dormant YouTube channel called Fang Pipsqueak Reads, where I review indie horror books. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but hopefully I can update it when I have the time. And they can also find me on TikTok as Vitlame Mist, where I post funny writing-related scenarios.
And Matt, what about you?
I am on Twitter at BrandonbergDM.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088 and be sure to give Abyss a follow at Into Staring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.